In Napoleon Hill's timeless classic, Think and Grow Rich, he defines a mastermind group as the coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. In this podcast, that coordination is created between you, me, and our amazing guests. Our definite purpose is achieving extraordinary results in your business and your life. I'm your host, Brad Mulvey. Welcome to the Millennial Mastermind Podcast. Welcome, Millennial Mafiosos, to the Millennial Mastermind Podcast, where it is my job to find and interview guests who provide us ambitious millennials with the tools, tactics, and inspiration to build the lives of our dreams. Today's guest most certainly fits that criteria, as she is a millennial who was uninspired in her day job and sick of witnessing the onslaught of hate in the world around her, so she did something about it. Specifically, when Yashika Shah realized that her favorite part of her corporate career was switching jobs, she realized that something needed to change. And this time, it couldn't just be her job that changed. So she decided to team up with her life partner, Mihir, to create a company with a mission that injects joy and understanding into the world. Enter MYrago, an experiential travel startup that brings locals and travelers together for super offbeat and non-touristy experiences. In this episode, Yashika shares what drives her to build a better future for herself and the world around her, how she perseveres through the challenges of entrepreneurship, how millennials can change the world, and much more. If you listen to this episode and love it, as I know you will, please do me a huge favor and head over to iTunes or your Apple Podcast app and leave us a quick rating or review. If you do that, take a screenshot and send it to me at brad@millennialmm.com. I will send you a personal video of me giving you a virtual high five. That part's just optional, but it's seriously, a review would be huge. So with that, please enjoy this episode with Yashika Shah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Millennial Mastermind Podcast. Today, I think that we're all going to walk away from this conversation inspired, enlightened, and ready to rock and roll. So with that, I'm pleased to announce and welcome Yashika Shah. Yashika, how are you today?
Great. How are you, Brad?
I am excellent. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on the podcast. Can't wait to dive into your story here.
I can't wait to talk to you as well. And thank you very much for having me and taking this time to hear about my experience and, how MYrago was established.
Absolutely. And so before we even get to MYrago, I would love if you could just share with the audience a little bit of your own personal background, kind of how you ended up to the point where you were ready to found this awesome company.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, it's been such a long journey, and also not. But so essentially, to give you some background, I'm originally from India. I was born and raised in Mumbai. I came to the States almost 13 years ago, I want to say, for my undergrad. Went to a small liberal arts college in Ohio Wesleyan University, 20 minutes away from Ohio State, for anyone who doesn't know about us. And I initially came to, do my undergrad, live and breathe the American way of life. And that was one of the biggest motivations of moving to the States. After that, the goal was basically to get a corporate job, get a good life, work up the corporate ladder. And after a series of roles, switching around, I realized that the joy that I would get from pursuing a new role, after getting the role, it wasn't fun anymore. I've always been in the banking sector, within the finance sector. And, initially the work is all exciting and very, full throttle, and, the day goes by so fast, but you soon start realizing that, what am I trying to do over here, right? Like, what is the, purpose of life? What are we trying to accomplish over here? So one good thing out of my job was that I had the opportunity to travel a lot. I could afford to go travel and experience the world and, see different things happen. And my partner Mihir and I, Mihir is also my life partner. We've been together since high school. We would go on travels a lot, and we traveled the world a lot. And one of the times when we were in Cuba, actually, this was before the embargo was lifted, during the Obama era. We went to Cuba. We met a really awesome, Cuban cigar farmer, and we learned everything there is to know about Cuban cigar. Neither Mihir and I smoke, but it was just such a great experience to, hand roll a Cuban cigar with him and learn about, the effect that this, lifting of the embargo has had on his business, on his family, on his society, on his community. It was such a pleasant experience that, walking away, we realized that it would be so awesome if more people could, experience this kind of joy and experience this kind of networking or meeting other people from different cultures to learn and share their expertise with. And honestly, that's how the idea for MYrago came about. We wanted to do something. We wanted to get away from this whole corporate life and try to work for our own selves versus trying to answer to the next deadline. And the joy of travel, both of those came at the right time. And we just took the plunge and went ahead with it. And it's been a very exhilarating journey. Not gonna sugarcoat it. It has its ups and downs, but you cherish the ups, and when the downs come, you fight hard to get over it. So yeah.
Well, that's a fantastic journey that you've been through, and I loved what you mentioned about getting into that job. You're so excited to get started, and then soon realizing, what am I here for? What is the purpose? What am I accomplishing? And I think that a lot of people who are listening to this episode are going to resonate with that dilemma, because that's why people are here. They want to become more, and they want to listen to inspiring guests like you who have actually taken that leap of faith to go and make more out of their life and create something special in the world that they're truly passionate about. So that is just awesome to hear, and I'm really excited to kind of dive into some of those ups and those downs. So I guess one great place to start is, so you have this inspiration, you're in Cuba, you had that phenomenal experience to roll some Cuban cigars with the actual cigar farmers out there, which is just so cool, and the tobacco farmers. Yeah. So what did that inspire then? What did your company end up becoming?
Yeah, that's a great question. So honestly, initially what we tried to do was, we were like, okay, this was a very cool experience we had. How do we go about, not mass producing, but in terms of how do we go about finding more of these experiences and having a lot more people, go on it. So initially what we wanted to do was, because Mihir and I, we are both from India, what we started doing was we started reaching out to a lot of our, contacts in India, like our friends of friends, people who we knew were experts, such as, a friend of ours, he's a pro batsman. So I don't know how much you know about India, but in Asia, cricket is literally another religion. Like, if you go to Asia, you have to play cricket, or you must, go to one of the cricket games. So we were fortunate to find friends or, contacts who were experts in their field. So for instance, we have an experience where if you go to India, you get to play cricket with a pro batsman. So that's how we started doing. We found a lot of experts within India, started getting them on a basic WordPress website, and trying to see how do we make it look cool and fun and, get their experience out there. And once we saw some of the people come on board, we then started reaching out and did a basic, very, very basic marketing campaign to see if there was appetite, right? Because a lot of times what happens in a business is when you think it's a cool idea, you just assume that it's a great idea for everyone, right? Like if you're going to do it, of course, everyone else would do it. Why not? So what, obviously we had read a lot and heard a lot of similar podcasts to yours, to realize that we need to do some market research. So once we got a few people onboarded, we reached out to we did a blank Facebook and Google advertising to see if people would be interested or if there would be signups. So we created a basic landing page, put our pitch out there, asked people if they would be interested in doing something offbeat, not a tourist kind of experiences. And got a good number of responses who were able to sign up and be like, yeah, I would totally do something like this for the price that you have listed. And that's how we were able to validate that our business does have some merit to stand on. And from there, what we did was we just started reaching out. We started doing a lot of deep dive into any and every country that we wanted to visit or had visited. So for instance, after we did a grueling deep dive about India, we then moved on to Japan because, Japan is somewhere we've always wanted to go and we've always heard people talk beautiful stuff about. So we started reaching out and reading every single thing there is about Japan, every single blog, every single news article, anything and everything that has to do with the culture. And then started reaching out to the people who had either written those blogs or who had been quoted in those blogs about doing something phenomenal, and asking them if they would be interested in, sharing their experience or sharing their expertise with, travelers. And, obviously it took a lot of time to get our message out there, a bit more from a kumbaya approach that let's make world a great place again, to be more like, hey, you have this amazing experience and expertise. How about we, put it on this platform, you make some money out of it, as well as get this experience out there so that the person who's traveling gets a better appreciation about your country. So it was a lot of finessing and managing that messaging. And, we were able to finally expand into almost 22 countries by now, and have 350 experiences on our platform.
So I would love to get an idea. What was the timing then from when you first started launching those tests and doing your market research and putting up a basic landing page to now having all those experiences up, live, ready to go?
Sure. Honestly, it's been 5 months. So it's not been a very long time.
That's so quick. That's amazing.
I know. And I this is something about me. It's both and I'm not trying to give backhanded compliments to myself, but honestly, I've been told that. So, one of the personality traits I have is when I put my sight on something, I go completely insane and go for it, right? So that's a positive. But the downside is that nothing is good enough. So for instance, even though it's been 5 months and we've been able to get so many experiences within so many countries, and obviously it's a great story and very good metrics, but still, given how my personality is, it still feels that we could have done so many more experiences, we could have done so many more countries, and so it's it's a balance, right? So that's why you go into your business and you learn a lot of things about yourself that you had never realized or thought about. So, and once again, I'm not giving myself backhanded compliments. This is literally one of the things that I need to improve upon.
No, I think you
I learn to be that.
Yeah, and if you're not going to compliment yourself, I will, because that's amazing what you've accomplished in just 5 months, and I think that anybody listening will agree with that. So are you still working in finance and banking, or is now MYrago your full-time focus?
So I am working on a more of a part-time basis before I move fully fledged into MYrago. And the reason being, it's more related to, my visa situation and, my, like I mentioned, right, I'm originally from India. So we have to iron out those immigration visa issues before, right. Getting into fully into it.
Right. And I think that it's just super impressive then, even more so that you've been able to do this while still maintaining some other actual job that you're in your original focus point, in your original career. Yeah. And I think that that's just something that ambitious millennials struggle with in general, is taking a pause and appreciating what we've been able to accomplish, because we're just very impatient. It's we've heard it all before, but it's a good thing that we're want to accomplish as much as we can. But sometimes we just have to slow down and appreciate what we have been able to do in such a short amount of time.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And, there were a lot of times when people would be like, oh, you're just a millennial. And I think people take it in a kind of a negative tone in terms of like, oh, we think that we are a special snowflake and, we are
Yep.
very different from everyone else and, all of that. But I think what they fail to realize is that there's just this drive to get to wherever you have in your mind, and time is not enough and time is slipping away, and you really want to work hard and get where you want to be. So there's that nuance to it, and I absolutely agree with you that there comes a time when you want to pause and appreciate, and more importantly be grateful for all the opportunities that you've been given in life and everything that you've been able to accomplish, because without that you're just going to constantly be running, and running to where. So
So you mentioned earlier that in this journey of starting this business and this whole new chapter of your life, there's been ups and there's also been downs. Would you mind sharing one of those downs, one of those challenging experiences, and how you got through that and kind of what your mindset was working through that challenge?
Yeah, absolutely. So initially, when we started off, right, this was very much in the beginning. So I had mentioned earlier, right, we did a market research to find out if people were interested in what we're trying to sell, and we got a good validation from people, and then we went full into it. So one of the ways we tried to get users, because we let me take a step back. We're trying to create a two-place marketplace, right? A two-sided marketplace, wherein we have people with expertise who are trying to provide those experiences. And at the same time, we're looking for travelers who want to participate in those experiences. So getting people to post their experiences on the platform was relatively easy, because we had to give a pitch to them. We had to tell them you would be able to share your expertise with a wider audience. At the end of the day, they are making money, so it's easier for them to be convinced to be on our platform. On the flip side of it is the user, right? The user does not know you. I don't know what MYrago is. I don't know you. You are, firstly, you have a very odd sounding name, so I don't even know what that stands for. And secondly, you want my credit card information. So what we tried to do was we tried to do a lot of like Facebook and Google AdWords marketing, right? I think we tried to take the easier way out, because we just thought, let's just put some money in and consumers will show up automatically. And the challenging part came in is that we overestimated how much money we could add in, and we would get a lot more users out of it. But one thing that we realized was that whatever amount we had budgeted within our entire, for our entire year's worth of work for MYrago, we ended up spending 70% of it in Facebook and Google ad marketing, and got like almost zero users, or got really bad leads. So when I say the down, it's not a down as in my business has stopped completely working and I don't know what to do. It's more about the financial resources that you had saved up to build up the platform, get some developers, get some people to do some organic growth. All of that was lost because we carelessly spent a lot of money to get a lot of users and were not able to do so. So that was kind of a down, because obviously losing a lot of money in just a month puts a lot of like strain on what you're trying to accomplish, and makes you start reevaluating, what you are doing. Is it even feasible, or should you even be doing? You get these thoughts about, should I, this was good, maybe this should just be a hobby, and, I should just focus on doing my job and continue getting that, stable, beautiful paycheck, or, you get those kind of, thoughts in your mind, and, you have to think about the big picture, right? That any time and every time you read about someone doing great things in their lives, you rarely hear about an employee. It's most definitely or not someone who started their business or is running a business.
Right.
So putting those things in perspective is very hard at that time.
So when you are in kind of those lower points where you're having some self-limiting beliefs, the financial situation isn't ideal, but you're still afloat. What is your self-talk there? What are you thinking that helps you push through that and keep going?
Oh my gosh, it's a lot of Beyonce songs. I'm gonna not lie,
Yes.
but more
Queen
serious. On a
Bee.
serious note, yeah. um, on a serious note, my partner Mihir, he is, he's my rock. Every time I have these like doubts about, are we even doing the right thing? Should we even be doing this? Should we even be doing that? Maybe we were better off just working for our employers and whatnot. He always brings me back and gives me the big picture talk that we are meant to do something big, and if you don't put your mind to the game, if you don't put your eye on the prize, it's never going to happen. And hustles and struggles are what builds character. So I wish I could say that I am very good at prepping myself to getting out of my funk, but it's mostly Mihir and Beyonce. They are the two people who help me out. So.
No, and that's good. That's good to know yourself and your strengths and your weaknesses and who you can lean on for those type of challenges. You mentioned earlier how you were just ready to get out of that corporate rat race and escape the hamster wheel and really make an impact in the world. And I know that with MYrago, a big piece of it is that you're driven by the mission of what it stands for and the difference that you can make in the world. Would you mind talking to that a little bit of kind of what that overarching mission of the company is?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned, right, I think the most high before I would, even before I started my business, the most thrill and the most excitement I would get when I was, working was switching from one job to another, right? Like that used to be my most, the best moment, the best feeling I would ever get. And obviously not to say that I have like 20 years of work experience. I don't, but, moving from job to job, that would give me the motivation and the happiness. And then I realized that this is not sustainable. I cannot be moving jobs just to find happiness, and this is not going to work out. So at the same time, when we were traveling, that experience that we had, it was amazing. And one of the things that we realized, and obviously, like I mentioned before as well, I'm not trying to be too kumbaya, but given the state that we are in, this very, very well resonates with me, is that both Mihir and I are immigrants. Right now, the current situation that we are in, the climate, the environment that we see, there's a lot of hate going around, right? There's just absolutely no tolerance for anything, and some of it I try to get, and some of it I absolutely do not get. And one thing that I've realized is that people who travel, or when you travel, it opens a completely new outlook for you, right? You go to, let's say, Mexico, you go to, let's say, Japan, you find someone who is exactly like you, has the same personality as you, but is just different because they grew up in a different culture, they grew up in a different environment, they grew up, in a different climate. But at the end of the day, they are very similar to you. So, but you don't realize that unless you go out of your comfort zone, unless you go out of your city, unless you go out of your home and go experience these things. So that is the kind of thing that we are trying to do MYrago. And step one for us was to do experiences. Because when you're trying to create or sell or market an abstract idea, it's very hard, right? Because people want to understand A equals B equals C, versus it being like A times squared times cubed equals C, right?
Right.
So what we tried to do was create MYrago. The first step is experiences, right? People understand experiences. People understand that, let me do something different when I'm on my vacation. The second step to MYrago is we don't want to be just about experiences. We also want to profile everyday, regular people doing amazing things. So for instance, for the month of November, starting this month, we started profiling our New York City hosts, as well as just regular New Yorkers doing amazing things. So for instance, we recently interviewed a fortune cookie writer who basically writes those motivating, powerful messages that you get in your fortune cookie, saying you're going to have an amazing day and you're going to meet the love of your life, or you're going to make $1 million tomorrow. So it's or the other day we interviewed a subway performer, right? He basically goes in the New York City subways, sings his heart out, and makes money. And he does this, one, to make a living, and two, because he's just very passionate about singing. So it's basically, our goal is to bring all these amazing offbeat experiences, bring all these local profiles about what everyday regular folks do, and create a platform where a person can understand that, even though you and I are from different countries or different cities or different continents, you and I do have some similar pieces. You and I have similar kind of struggles. You and I have the same kind of stuff that make us happy. And I think that is what we are trying to accomplish through MYrago. And, like I said, I know it's very kumbaya. We are at 0.25% there. But that's the overarching goal. That's what we want to accomplish, to make a big difference in the society that we live in.
That's incredible. And I don't find it kumbaya at all, because I think personally that every single person can take small steps towards fixing a problem that they see, no matter how large that problem is. And clearly the ones that you're trying to address with all the hate that we have around us in the world are huge, huge issues that are seemingly impossible to fix by one person. But if each one person takes a small step towards fixing that, then that has a huge impact. And I think that what you guys are doing, even though you're only at 0.001% of where you want to be with it, is already making such a large impact, and it's so much bigger of an impact when you put a company behind it and a brand behind it, and do things like create these experiences that people can really share their own experience, and B, other people can come in and enjoy those experiences and be part of it. And so I give you a lot of credit for what you guys are doing. And I just want to ask, from having that overarching mission behind the company, have you seen that help when you're hitting some of those challenging points, or you have to do something that isn't the part of entrepreneurship that you love, or anything like that? Has that provided some additional motivation to keep things moving?
Absolutely. And this is the message that even helps us get a lot of people on our platform, right? Because let's be honest, right? We are not the first company to do something local, right? We are not the first company to give you local experiences that you can try when you're on vacation, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of times when we reach out to some of our experts, asking them if they would be interested in being part of our platform, they give us the same spiel, right? I've heard from 5 other companies like you. Why should I trust you? Why should I work with you? Which is a legit question, right? And I think what separates us, from the rest of the group that's trying to do this, is this overarching fact that, our goal is not just to do experiences. Our goal is to actually make people more tolerant of each other, so that there comes a day where, you can disagree with me, but I know where you are coming from. So I have a better appreciation of where this disagreement comes from. You know what I mean? So it's a more nuanced approach to the way we live. And, I like to think that, in like 10 years from now, all of these robots are probably going to take over and do everything, and leave the rest of us humans trying to figure the more, cultural / interpersonal kind of situations out. And what is going to happen if we are so divided at that time, right? I mean, so it's just something that, I know it's a too far-fetched idea, but something that, keeps you thinking, right? Like when everything gets automated and you have all this time to yourself to make a difference in the society, to take the society forward, what kind of society do you want to be in, and what kind of society do you want to create?
Right. And just having that social impact behind your business too. Tom's shoes is the much overused example, but
Yeah.
but really Blake Myskoki was really kind of the father figure who first popularized this idea of creating a company, a for-profit company that's doing really important work and having a real social impact. And that company was hugely successful, and there's a reason why. It's because people want to be part of something like that. They don't mind if your company is making money if a portion of what you're doing is going back to helping the world and helping the cause that you feel passionate about. And I think that passion shines through, and it has to be real, I think, is the caveat there. You can't do something as a gimmick to make it look like your company cares, but really it's just a play to make more money. And because of that, I think that you guys are going to see a lot of success with this model. And it just, you could tell how passionate you are about that mission.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like, for anyone, listening, trying to go into entrepreneurship, one word of advice is, don't go into it thinking you will go out becoming a billionaire or a millionaire, right? I mean, it is, you have to believe in the cause, because there will be times when you're literally not making anything, or making just like, keeping you ramen rich, right? You can eat ramen all day and every day. So it's basically, you have to believe in the cause. You have to believe in what you are doing, because that's the only thing that is going to, push you forward and, take you where you want to be. And there's a reason 99% of the startups that form fail, right?
Yeah. And I'll second that. I mean, for the first year and a half of doing this show, I didn't make a dime doing it. And still now it's not the primary source of income for myself. But what keeps me going is that drive of empowering millennials to do awesome things that they love, and like yourself, just going out and having a positive impact on the world. And if I would have come into this thinking, you know what, I'm going to start this podcast, that's going to transform into a business, and in a year, I'm going to be making a couple $100,000 a year, I would have quit a long time ago. But there has to be that underlying passion behind it. And I don't even like the word passion sometimes, because I think it again is one of those phrases that gets a little bit overplayed, but something that you truly care for, that when you're sitting in your apartment at 9:00 on a Sunday evening and know you got to push an episode out the next day and don't want to edit, you have something that is an external motivator that keeps you going.
Absolutely. And it even shows in your work, right? Like, you have such a great following. You have all these like amazing people, who show up for to be interviewed by you. Obviously, I'm once again not backhanded compliment to myself,
like
but
yourself, I was just going to say.
No. Look, no, I mean, I'm seriously, like, I listened to your podcast, and that was one of the reasons, I wanted to, I was very excited about this opportunity. So that's what I'm saying, right? Like, it shows in the quality of work that you produce, and, your audience love it, your speakers love it. So, you need to have that passion. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. So Yashika, before we wrap it up here, what is one piece of advice that you would like to leave for any of the millennials who are listening to this?
I would definitely say, and this is, I tell all my friends, and I tell anyone and everyone who's trying to pursue a career or not a career, but entrepreneurship, right, is to have a very, very, very strong partner, or someone you can rely on, or someone you can trust, or someone who will bring you back up when the times are tough. And they don't even have to be your business partner, right? Like, the way it worked out between Mihir and I, it was great. But a lot of times people go into this solo, which is totally fine as well. But you need to have someone, your anchor of support, who you can rely on, who can bring you back up, who can, be your good sounding board. You need that, because the path I know this sounds very philosophical, but the path to entrepreneurship can get sometimes very lonely. So you need to have that anchor who can, help you get out of your funk whenever, and you meet that. So that is one thing I would say, to always have someone who supports you unconditionally. It can be your partner, it can be your parent, it can be your best friend, it can be a coworker, it can be anyone, but you need to have someone who you can, just brainstorm and put your thoughts out there.
I totally agree. And I'm thrilled that you had kind of that partner to kick off this journey with. And I know some people might be listening and thinking, oh, I don't know who that person is in my life. And if anybody's been listening to this show, they know that I'm very passionate too about the concept of mastermind groups, and go out, and that's a community that you can just build yourself into, and just get a tribe of 4 to 5 people who can really help you on this journey, who may not be your partner in the business, but really have a vested interest in wishing for your success and helping you achieve that success. And I'm not, if anybody wants to join the mastermind groups that I host, go for it. But that's not what I'm trying to say here is there's plenty out there of groups, paid or not, or just start your own even. Find some people in your own community who are also interested in entrepreneurship and lean on them to be kind of that supporting partner or partners. That's a great option too for somebody who doesn't have that business partner.
Absolutely agree with you. It's just a good way to, to have a second or third person to just, shoot off some ideas with, and or just help you get out of the weird mood that you're in. Because a lot of times when you think that, everything is crumbling down and the world is about to end, you need to have a sane person being like, you know what, you're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal.
I totally agree. So Yashika, where can people find out more about MYrago, more about what you guys are doing and the awesome company that you're building?
Yes, our website, it's welcome.myrago.com. Go check it out, and subscribe if you like our blogs, if you like our experiences. We are constantly growing, and if you are not in the city that you want, shoot us an email, and we'll be more than happy to expand into it and get you some amazing, not a tourist experiences for you.
And can you spell out MYrago for anybody who may not have picked up on it based on the pronunciation?
Absolutely. It's MYrago. And it's funny, we actually created this name up. I think this was the hardest part of the business, coming up with the name. So what we did was we combined the initials of Mihir and I, and Mihir basically found this Greek word called virago, which is a female warrior. And, we mashed it all up and made MYrago. So that's the basis of MYrago.
I love it. So we'll have that all linked up in the show notes as well. But I want to just say thank you so much, Yashika, for coming on today. It was a blast talking with you. I'm super inspired and just thrilled that there are millennials making the impact and putting in the work that you are to change the world 0.001% at a time. And I know that percentage is quickly going to jump up, and you're going to be a pretty sought after podcast guest here in the next couple months.
Thank you very much, Brad. I really appreciate you taking the time to, talk to me and understand and, ask us about our journey. It was a delight talking to you, and I look forward to hearing more of your episodes.
Wow, what an inspiring conversation, huh? So we talked a little bit in this episode about mastermind groups, and I wanted to share a quick resource for you guys. If you're interested in creating your own mastermind group and understanding really what the heck is that and how would you even go about creating one, you can check out an episode I did a little while back, episode 48, called But Really, What Are Mastermind Groups? So the first half of that just goes through what a mastermind group is and how you can create one within your network or with even with some people that you don't know that well right now. And I highly suggest giving that a listen if you're thinking about creating one. And also, if you're interested in joining one, I am going to be opening up some new mastermind groups. We've had a ton of success with round one with what I call the mastermind OGs, original gangsters. And it's been crazy what we've seen. There's been 2 of the members from that started an e-commerce business. We've seen record high sales months with members of the groups, just explosive growth all around. And that's only been going on for about 5 months. So it's wild the results you can see in a short amount of time. So I definitely recommend giving a mastermind group a shot, even if you're just going to create your own or find another one out there. There's plenty of organizations that put on mastermind groups or paid masterminds that you can join. So feel free to reach out to me if you want any more information on the ones that we have here at brad@millennialmm.com. Or if you are looking to start your own, feel free to reach out as well. I'd love to walk you through, some of what I learned the first time that we put this first one together, and I share that information at no charge to you, and we can get more people, more millennials masterminding, and that's the dream. So with that, hope you guys have a great week. See you again here next time.